In this lecture, we are going to work on deleting a movie functionality. So if I go to our Cineflix application, each movie card which you see here, there we also have this delete button. Now, when we click on this details button, it is going to show the details of that movie, as you can see here, and we implemented this functionality in our last lecture. But with the details for each movie, we also have this delete button. And what we want is when this delete button is clicked, we want to delete that movie from the UI. So basically, we want to delete that movie from the movies array which we have at the top. Let's see how we can do that. So for that, the first thing which we are going to do is here we have that delete button. On this delete button, we are going to use this on click. We are going to add this on click event handler. And whenever this delete button for any movie is clicked, we want to call a function delete movie. Okay, and this delete movie, it is going to take the ID of the movie in order to delete it, because which movie do we want to delete? We need to identify it, and for identifying it, we are going to use the ID of that movie. So to this delete movie method, we are going to pass the ID of the movie which we want to delete, and that ID we can get from this movie object which we are going to receive for each method. So here we will say movie.id. This is the first step. We need to add this on click event handler on this button. Now let's go ahead and let's create this delete movie function. So let me scroll down, and here I'm going to create that function. We are calling that function delete movie, and we are expecting the ID of the movie for this function which we want to delete. Now the first thing which we are going to do is, first we want to get the movie which we want to delete. So here I'm going to create a variable. I'll call it as movie to delete, and we are going to get this movie by using the find method. So on the movies array, which is storing all our movies, I'm going to call the find method, and we have learned that this find method is going to return us the first element which matches a given condition. So for this find method, we need to pass a function, a callback function. That callback function is going to receive the movie object for each iteration, and here we want to check the condition where movie.id is equal to the ID which we are receiving for this delete movie function. So whichever movie's ID matches this ID value, we want to get that movie, and we want to assign it to movie to delete variable. So here now we have the movie which we want to delete, but instead of getting the movie, we need the index of the movie object in the movies array which we want to delete. Here, I wanted to fetch the movie object because before deleting the movie, we want to show a confirm window to the user to confirm whether he really wants to delete the movie or not. So for that, let me create a variable and let's call it as confirm message. And to get the confirmation message, we are going to use the confirm function. And to this confirm function, we need to specify the message which we want to show to the user. So let me also go ahead and let me create that message. So I'll create a message variable, and the message will be here. Let me use backticks, and here let's say, do you really want to delete movie? And then I want to show the movie name. So for that, I'm going to use the template literal syntax. Here I'll use single quotes, and then I'll use template literal syntax, and then I'll close it with single quotes. And in there, I'm going to use movie to delete dot name. Okay, so we want to ask user whether he really wants to delete the movie and then the movie name. And let's pass this message to this confirm function. Let's save the changes, and when I click on this delete button, you see it is showing this confirm window to the user, and it says, do you really want to delete movie and then the movie name, which in this case is Interstellar. If the user clicks on this OK button, we want to delete that movie. Otherwise, if the cancel button is clicked, we will not proceed with the delete. In the same way, if I click on the delete button of this movie, you can see the name of that movie in this message. All right, so once we have the confirmation message, we will check if that confirm message is true or false. So when the user clicks on OK button, the confirm message will be true. And in that case, we will delete the movie. Okay. And here, instead of calling it confirm message, let's call it as do delete, because this gives a more meaningful name. And here let's use that do delete variable. Okay, so if the do delete is true, then only we want to proceed with the deletion. Otherwise, we will not proceed with the deletion. And how are we going to delete a movie object from the movies array? For that, we are going to use the splice method. So here we can say movies.splice. And to this splice method, we need to specify the start index from where we want to remove the element from the movies array. And the end index will be 1 because we only want to remove one element from the movies array. If I pass 0 here, in that case, this splice method will remove the first element from the movies array. But here, instead of deleting the first element, we want to get the index of the movie which we want to delete. So for example, if I click on this delete button for this movie, the index for this movie is 3. So I want to get the index of this movie, and that I want to specify as the start index. And we know that this splice method, it modifies the original array. So in the movies array, currently we have 5 movie objects. When the delete button is clicked for one of the movies, this splice method is going to remove that movie from the movies array. And the movies array will be left with only 4 elements. Now to delete using this splice method, we need to get the index of the movie which we want to delete. And for that, if you remember, we have also learned about find index method. So just like find method, this find method returns us the first element from an array which matches a given condition. In the same way, we also have find index method which returns us the index of the first element which matches a given condition. So here I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to use it here. And here instead of find, I'm going to use find index. To this find index, we are passing a callback function. And in that callback function, we are writing a condition. The condition is movie ID is equal to the ID which we are receiving for this delete movie function. So whichever movie object in this movies array, whichever first movie object in this movies array satisfies this condition, the index of that movie object will be returned by this find index method. Let's go ahead and let's store it in a variable. Let's call it index. So for example, if you want to delete this Bahubali movie is present at the third index in this movies array. So the ID of this movie will be 4. That 4 we are going to receive here for this ID parameter. So when this delete button for the Bahubali movie is clicked, this delete movie function will be called. There this ID will be assigned with the 4. And here this find index method is going to check which movie object in this movies array has this ID 4. And whichever first movie object will satisfy this condition, in this case this Bahubali movie will satisfy that condition, so the index of this movie will be returned, and that index we are storing in this index variable. And now we can pass this index as the start index for the for the splice method. And from this index, this splice method is going to remove an element, and it is going to remove a single element because we are specifying the count as 1. If I specify 2, then in that case, from that index, it will remove 2 elements from the movies array. But here we only want to delete one element, the movie for which the delete button is clicked. All right. And once the movie has been deleted, we also want to re-render the UI so that the deleted movie will not be displayed in the UI. And to re-render the UI, we are going to call render all movies. And here again, we are going to pass the movies array. Remember that the splice method is going to modify the original array. It is going to modify the movies array. So initially we have 5 movie objects in this movies array. When one of the movie is deleted, it will be left with 4 movie object because the splice method is going to modify the original array. So now in this movies array, we will have 4 movie object. And when we are passing that movies array to this render all movies function, in this movies array, we have only 4 movie objects. Those 4 movie objects will be re-rendered here in the page. So with this, if we save the changes and let's say I delete this Interstellar movie, for that I'll click on this delete button. It is asking for the confirmation. If I click on OK, you will see that Interstellar movie has been deleted. If I click on Fast and Furious, the delete button of this Fast and Furious movie, if I click on this delete button, it is asking for the confirmation. If I click on OK, that movie has been deleted. It has been removed. So now we are left with only 3 movies. Okay, and this sorting, it will also work on only those 3 movies. If I click on all, it should show only 3 movies because 2 movies we have deleted from the movies array. So here in this lecture, we have implemented the delete movie functionality. For that, we have used the find method. Now here we have used the find method to get the details of the movie which we want to delete, because here we want to use the detail in this confirmation message. We want to use the name of the movie in the confirmation message. Otherwise, the movie detail was not required here. In order to delete the movie, we need the index of the movie which we want to delete. For that, we are using this find index method. This find index is an array method which returns us the first element from an array which satisfies a given condition. Then to delete the movie from the array, we are using the splice method. We have learned that the splice method is used to remove the elements from an array, and it modifies the original array. It does not return us a new array. Instead, it modifies the original array by removing or adding elements to that array. In this case, it is going to remove an element from this index, and it is going to remove it from the original array. So in the original array, initially we have 5 elements. When we click on the delete button of a movie, that movie object will be removed from the movies array and it will be left with 4 movie elements. If we try to delete another movie, it will be left with 3 movie elements and so on. And after deleting the movie, since now the movie array has changed, in order to display only the available movies, we are calling this render all movies function again. And to the movie list parameter, we are passing the updated movies array, which is left with only 3 elements because 2 movie objects we have deleted, right? So this is all I wanted to cover in this lecture. If you have any questions from this lecture, then feel free to ask it. Thank you for listening and have a great day.